Good morning!
Drill the girls.
I just want to acknowledge that it's 7:30. Good morning.
Give me a good time.
Do we need a few more minutes?
I
10
think we're
seconds.
rolling in.
We're good?
We're just about good.
Whatever Ernst calls.
Good morning.
No. These are the chairs. What is how can I say this?
No sneaking.
Paul, you
We're
want to
good?
get
Is it
out?
good?
Be back.
We go, okay, perfect. I call this meeting, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmasters Club 6440 to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phones. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster this morning, Ernst.
Thank you very much. It was miraculous to get all the people together for their different kinds of jobs they had. Unfortunately, we need to rearrange the agenda a little bit. Nicole was supposed to be here. She's not. I've not heard from her. I tried very much. So maybe we don't have a speaker number 1 and a speaker number 2. Thanks, Mike, who signed up in the last minute. And then we have Macarena, who stepped in as the timer and Carrie as the odd counter.
All right.
Martin Pell, who is supposed to be evaluator number 1, I've not heard from him, but since we guys know speaker number 1, Gus will be stepping into number 1, which is actually number 2, and Paul. We're all confused here. The theme today is Easter Bunny. That's why we have the Easter Bunny signs in here. Of course, I thought the room was supposed to be set up different. Like otherwise, I would have had an Easter Bunny told.
We gotta find the egg.
Toy with me, but the Easter Bunny is an anthropomorphic, which is a human-like egg-laying rabbit who sneaks into homes at night before Easter to deliver baskets full of colored eggs, toys, chocolates, and nowadays iPods. A wise man once told me that all religions are beautiful and all religions are wacko. But even if you allow for miracles, angels, and pancake Jesus, the Easter Bunny really comes out of the left field. If you go way back, though, the Easter Bunny starts to make a little bit more sense. Spring is the season of rebirth and renewal. Plants return to life after winter dormancy, and many animals mate and procreate. Many pagan cultures held spring festivals to celebrate this renewal of life and promote fertility. One of these festivals was in honor of Iestro and Iaster, the goddess of dawn, spring, and fertility, near and dear to the hearts of the pageant of Northern Europe. Iester was closely linked to the hare and the egg, both symbols of fertility. That has something to do with the Easter Bunny. I'll explain a little bit later. But I like to now introduce the technical table, starting out with the grammarian.
Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests if we have any. As grammarian, it is my function to select the word of the day and help members build vocabulary. Each member, when called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day, which is miraculous, which means peculiarly, I can't even pronounce it, fortunate and appropriate, as if by divine intervention. Synonym is heaven sent or fortunate, and a sentence for using this would be, and I just changed my sentence as you were talking, it was miraculous to my 8-year-old son how the Easter Bunny was able to deliver eggs filled with candy and avoid getting eaten by my German Shepherds. And we are encouraged to use the word of the day. For those of you that do not use the word of the day, it is 25 cents.
Thank you, Jeff. The next is our timer, Macarena Torres, please.
Thank you, Toastmaster. My function is to time the speakers, evaluators, and table topics participants to ensure they meet the timing requirements. I will demonstrate the timing lights, which will be displayed as follows. Speakers, 5 minutes for green, 6 minutes for yellow, 7 minutes for red. Table topics, 30 seconds green, 45 seconds yellow, 1 minute red. And evaluators, 2 minutes green, 2.5 minutes yellow, 3 minutes red. At the end of each segment, I will report the timing results.
Next in line is our R counter, thanks to Carrie Bird.
As the counter, it is my function to listen for the use of filler words such as you know, so, okay, and other audible pauses as fillers. I will be noting if members perform any double clutches, which means to say things twice, such as this means, and finally I will also include things that may be distracting, such as lip smacks or tongue clicks. I will present my report at the end of the meeting. All infractions are 5 cents.
Thank you very much, Carrie. I didn't know who was printing up the definitions and the word today, so I did mine as well. And in the example sentence I did, it would be miraculous if the Orlando Magic would win 2 games in a row. Everybody would understand that very well. So we go into our speakers. Right today is speaker number 1 is Mike Hughes. He's speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual. Number 7, research your topic. I want to thank Mike for stepping up in the last minute.
Hey,
In a miraculous turn of events, I
Speaking this morning.
had the unique ability or the opportunity to speak this morning. My topic was shooting, the mental aspects of shooting. Now, I'm in a sports psychology class at UCF, and I had to write a 10-page research paper on something to do with that. So I figured, since I teach it every week, why not? So, here we are. Write that down. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, today I want to talk about the mental aspects of shooting. Starting with control, followed by vision, and then relax. What does that all mean? Some of you have actually held a gun before. I gave a talk earlier on actually the safety of shooting. But I want to talk about control, the mental aspect of control. What does that mean to everybody? When you're holding the gun, you have to understand the physics of what's going on. You have to understand the gun's going to feel like it's exploding in your hand, but you have to control that with your grip. And it's going to be complemented by your stance. Now your stance has to be a natural stance, something you're going to do anyway, i.e. bend your knees, feet shoulder width apart, hips slightly kick back, and you lean forward. A lot of you consider this an athletic stance. Now, what comes next? Your vision. Vision is the funny thing. What are you supposed to see? When looking through your sights, you have a rear aperture and a front aperture. When you look through it, you see the front sight evenly matched in the rear notch, completely flat across the top. Now this applies to all firearms that you pick up, the interesting portion of it. But why is that important for a mental aspect? Think of the cup of coffee. When you go and fill your cup of coffee, fill it all the way to the top, but you got to finish getting ready. You got to carry this cup of coffee that you accidentally filled farther than you should have. You guys know what I'm talking about. You have to watch the coffee in order to keep yourself from spilling it. It's one of the mental aspects that we don't really think about because it doesn't apply to us. very often, unless we're running late. So you walk with the coffee. You use your periphery actually to navigate the house. That's the funny thing. Your periphery vision can tell you where you're at in space and time, utilizing different parts of the brain. Now, focus. Focus is an interesting one because you have to relax. Think about any sport you've ever conducted, whether it be golf, hockey, baseball. You have to focus. They talk about where to focus, where to draw your attention to. In baseball, it's keep your eye on the ball. But research has found that this thing called the quiet eye, which I just was reading about and found it fascinating, I wanted to share it with you guys. They say, watch the ball, but think about it, look just behind the ball. So aim just before you would start to swing. Now the interesting thing about baseball is the amount of time from when the pitcher throws to when you actually start your swing, they actually start at the same time if you watch actual professionals swing their bat. Before the pitcher even lets go of the ball, the batter's already into his swing. So it's more or less a guess as to where it is. But when shooting, you have to predict where you want your shot to go. So you focus for 2 seconds. Say something, this is where I'm shooting. It takes 2 seconds. Focus where you're at, focus on the front sight for 2 seconds, and then squeeze your shot. Now when squeezing the shot, squeezing the trigger, that's the interesting portion. Most people, this is where their mind really comes into play, because from their previous shot, they start to anticipate what's coming. They anticipate the bang, the loud noise, the movement in their hand. So this is more classical conditioning. If you guys are familiar with Ivan Pavlov, the Pavlov's dog, you may have heard of him before. What he talked about was ringing the bell and then feeding the dog. But that's not really what he was studying. He was actually studying the digestion of dogs, excuse me. He wanted to see the salivation, how it was processing inside the gut. But then he found out this unique mental aspect. So he'd ring the bell, fed the dog, ring the bell, fed the dog, ring the bell, fed the dog. Now the brain draws a correlation between the bell and the food. But why would it hear a bell and think food? Something totally not related, just like squeezing a trigger. If I squeeze a trigger, nothing's happening. But when I start associating it with a loud bang, the brain says, all right, start anticipating, it's coming, it's coming. For those of you who were spanked when you were younger by your father or mother, yes, I know you guys are all perfect. However, when mom or dad cocked back to do this, what did you do? You made that nice grimacing face. So, it's learning to condition yourself so that doesn't play a part when shooting. How you do that is through repetition. You draw the correlation between squeezing the trigger and nothing happening. Think golf. You go to the driving range, put the ball down, starts taking a swing, what's typically going to happen? You're going to slice it. It'll go straight every time. You have to practice this. This is a unique skill because golf takes a lifetime mastery. Shooting really doesn't. It can happen much faster, but it's understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it. So when shooting, grip your gun, have maximum control. Focus where you want to shoot. Take your breath, relax your body, relax the muscles. And then take practice shots. No bullets. Click, click, click. Your brain gets used to it. Then you actually load the gun, present it, go through it again, click. Well, now the gun goes bang, and that bullet goes right where you want it to. And that's the unique physics of it, is the bullet is now suspended in air. You can't affect it anymore. Many people wonder, why do I miss my shot all the time? You caused the miss of your shot, believe it or not. It's the anticipation prior to the shot that most people don't realize because it happens so fast. Now, in closing, I was going to tell a story about some story in Iraq, but because it's the Easter Bunny, and by miraculous happenstance, I decided not to. Because I want to keep it more jovial, have more fun with this. So, that being said, I'm going to turn over to the Toastmasters. Thank you for your time.
The time of 1 minute, please.
That was off the cuff.
Macarena. I know there's lots written about gun crimes and how people get killed, and you see these awful pictures all over the place, and people are against guns, etc., etc. But I was reading the book, Killing of Jesus, which was written by Bill O'Reilly. And the way they killed people way back then, I think the killing by gun is the most humane thing you can possibly do today, if you compare how they killed people in the most incredible ways. I didn't even know there was ways that you could kill people that way, but it's like Caesars and the Romans and all these things. It's incredible. Speaker number 2 from the Entertaining Speaker Manual, How to Shop for Area Rocks, is by Erika Benefi.
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Good morning.
Morning.
I am an interior designer by heart and trade. I'm the owner of an interior design firm in Central Florida and a retail store that sells unique home decor in South Orlando. So that means that I know a little bit about area rugs. Next week I'll be traveling to what we call the Fashion Week of the furnishings world in High Point, North Carolina. And when I visit this market, there are thousands and thousands of people there. There's about 20 vendors that I like to visit for area rugs. And through the years, I've learned a thing or two about rugs. We have rugs for boats. We have rugs here on the floor. These are actually called square rugs. You can pop one of these out if something happens, so they're used for commercial. The rugs that I'm going to share with you are going to be for home interiors. Rugs originated a long time ago for a different reason than we use them today. They were used in the homes as air filters. So when you have a rug that is made of wool or jute, you can lift the corner of it and you'll find, especially in Florida, if you have a hardwood floor or hard floor, you'll find that there's sand underneath that rug. And it's because it is a natural air filter. In this room and for this purpose, we mainly use it for sound absorbency because we don't have to have rug on this floor. But on a commercial space, putting an area rug down is one of the most cost-effective things to do versus hard flooring. So you have sound absorbency and you have air filter as one of the original reasons that rugs were used. Now, today I brought a few samples and I'm going to talk about shortly on the fabrication of rugs. But when you're shopping for rugs, you want to pay attention to these 3 key things. When you're looking online, you see these beautiful pictures, and you have no idea what they really look like in person. So the first thing to consider is the construction or make of the area rugs. There's various different techniques used today to make area rugs. The original area rugs were hand knotted, and they were hand knotted mostly in India is where it originated. Now today there's a lot of different countries such as Turkey, but area rugs back then were hand knotted. Take a guess how long it would take to make a hand knotted area rug. Anybody know?
2 years.
In 1 week, you can do up to 6 inches of an 8 by 10 area rug. The area rug that I'm holding is called hand tufted. So this is a different technique that allows us to have a rug in a quicker timeline. I have various orders with a lot of different timelines of when they're going to come in due to their fabrication. I have to tell someone today that the rug they ordered in late December is not going to be here until June. The order has been pushed twice. And that's okay. People will wait because it is handmade in another country. They have to put it on a boat and get it here. They're not going to FedEx individual rugs. Therefore, the construction matters when you're shopping for area rugs. I'm going to walk through and kind of give you a brief description on the different makes. So this is a hand-tufted wool rug, and to make a hand-tufted rug, they punch the wool through, and on the What you can't see on the back is they put a little backing on it, but the pattern is already laid out. So they take the wool and they punch it through, and then they do some sort of like a shearing process to make it smooth. So that is a hand tufted rug, and it is cost effective to do. Now when you hear the word machine made, it can seem like the rug may not be as good because it's made by machines and not handmade. But a machine made rug today is a little bit more complex because they've created different ways of making them. This is a good thickness for a high traffic area, or you can use it in a commercial space. But take a look at the back. You can see how the machine used, there is an actual stencil or template to make the pattern. This is also a machine-made rug. Look how fuzzy and soft. Polyester, the other rug that I was showing was polypropylene. So this is a durable rug. However, the process to make this rug, the pile is a little different. And again, they had to put that cover on it. So this one could not stand on its own. Then you have another technique that is very popular because we live in Florida. This is called a hooked rug. And a hooked rug is sometimes used for indoor, outdoor rugs. They use wool or polypropylene, and what happens with a hooked rug is that if you have a high traffic area, it's looped through so it can pull out. I actually have to they filed a claim late last night that someone in a commercial setting got a hooked rug. And I know what it is. It's the high heels of the women's shoes that have pulled through, but we'll file the claim, take pictures, let the vendor know, and see if they'll replace it or not. But please consider the different fabrications when you're shopping for an airy rug. Next thing to consider is the pile, which is how thick it is. So if you have a family room or a living room, you don't want to have a very thin rug because it can bunch up and lift up. So consider the pile. And last but not least is the size. So you want to make sure, designer trick is to make sure that all the pieces of furniture are touching the rug. They don't have to surround the rug because not everyone has a very large scale home, but all the feet of the chairs, the sofas must be on the rug. So please consider those tips when you're shopping for airy rugs, and if you have any questions, come visit me at my showroom. Thank you.
Timer, 1 minute, please. Thank you. I'm going to tell my wife today I'm going to the Rug King and buy some Iranian air filter. I don't know what she's wondering what that's going to be. I'm sure you've heard that in the Pacific Ocean there's square miles of garbage. Most of it is plastic, which they're putting together, which is just slightly floating around for years and years, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's this French guy who started a processing ship out in the ocean and is separating all the plastic and then making rugs out of them. It's amazing how to make money, cleaning up the ocean and making rugs. So let me go back to my Easter Bunny story. We're a little bit ahead of time, but as Christianity spread, it was common for missionaries to practice some good salesmanship by placing pageant ideas and rituals within the context of the Christian faith and turning pageant festivals into Christian holidays, such as Christmas. The Easter festival occurred around the same time as the Christian celebration of Christ's resurrection. So the two celebrations became one, and with a kind of blending that was going on among cultures, it would only seem natural that the pageant would bring the hare and egg images with them into the new faith, therefore the rabbits. The pageant, is that new to you?
No,
See?
review.
The pageant hung onto the rabbit. Eventually it became a part of the Christian celebration. We don't know exactly when, but it was first mentioned by German writings way back in the 1600s. The Germans converted the pageant rabbit into what we call Osterhase in Germany, a rabbit which was believed to lay a nest of colored eggs as a gift for good children. Now you got to think about it, a rabbit laying eggs, and that's a male rabbit, mostly depicted. How does that going to work? Anyways, the Osterhase came to America with the Pennsylvania Dutch settlers in the 1700s. It evolved into the Easter Bunny as it became entrenched in the American cultures. Over time, the bunny started bringing chocolates and toys in addition to eggs. And the chocolate rabbit began in Germany also way back when, in the 1800s, when they made the first pastry bunny rabbit. It's now time, and we have plenty of time for this, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. It's called Table Topics. So, Jorge, I'm sure you have plenty of interesting questions.
Yeah. I'll make some up.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests this morning. We have a lot of time, and since most people have functions to perform, everybody is available to be picked on today. So be prepared. Since the theme of today is the Easter Bunny, we'll have a couple of Easter questions. So to start off, what is your favorite Easter tradition? Alexandra.
Mr. Table Topic Master, what is my favorite Easter tradition? Miraculously, in my country, we don't celebrate Easter with bunnies and eggs and all these customs that we celebrate here. So when my children ask, what are we going to do in Easter? I mean, are we going to pick up eggs? And they're kind of big now. I kind of still get confused still with the theme about eggs and bunnies and chocolates. And I do it more for them. But to answer your question, I don't have really a tradition like everybody does. However, I'm trying to absorb the culture and implement it at home because obviously we live here. But I'm still trying to adapt, so I don't know, I kind of don't have a precise answer to that question. I'm still adapting and absorbing the culture. Thank you.
Thank you. A common gift to give at Easter is candy. All sorts of candy, all sorts of different shapes, sizes, and fillings. Ernst, if you had to create an Easter candy, what would that candy be?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. What would I make for Easter instead of the egg?
Yeah,
for Easter
you
bunny?
create any kind of candy, shape, filling, taste, ingredients.
Going back to my history of the Easter, where we used to take eggs, hard-boiled eggs, and we were throwing them up into the as high as we could, and You want to make sure that they don't crack when they come back down. I don't know how many of you have done the same thing. That was part of our tradition, but also we had big Easter bunnies and eggs, and chocolate eggs with all kinds of different fillings. So going back to what I was talking about last week about the pickle, I think I might the table topic master.
The Easter Bunny is a weird, I like that word you used at the start, was it's an anthropomorphic? Anthropomorphic creature.
Anthropomorphic.
If you had to invent a holiday and invent a mascot or create a mascot to go with that holiday, what would the holiday be and the mascot be? Stephen.
You're looking for an anthropomorphic mascot, but I need to invent the holiday. We'll have to find a way. I guess we should make it somewhere around Toastmaster's origin if we wish to make it that way. In which case, I suppose there's a variety of ways it might work. You might want to just take the gavel, put a couple eyes on it. It would be interesting, I guess, the front of the mallet would end up being the nose every time you're smashing it up against the lectern, and maybe you can give the lectern a big face to put on there every time it's getting hit, making some sort of grimace or otherwise. It would be an interesting way to get people at least started. Now, if you actually got them talking, and therefore the gavel and the lectern perhaps are talking, might get people to understand it's okay to be talking up there and looking completely silly and ridiculous. In that sense, maybe it'd help people to come over their worries, their fears, that people are going to look at them really strangely because they're already looking at everything strangely up here as it is. And then if it all works out, it might be a miraculous result that everyone is eager to get up and talk more and answer more of these strange questions.
Thank you. A lot of people like to take this opportunity, and Easter is one of the signals of spring or one of the harbingers of spring. What spring tradition do you like to do and why? Or is there anything special you like to do in spring and why? Mike.
One of my traditions is to clean the house.
I
know. The reason for that is through the hard winter nights and snow-filled nothingness in Florida, dust accumulates and I get lazy. So I decided to write it down that
I got it.
clean my house, dust, mow the lawn, get everything prepared for what's coming, because most of my time is going to be dedicated toward the lawn from spring forward because it grows so fast. Mr. TikTok Master.
I have too many more questions. I'll start making stuff up now. I guess I have my own question. I'm going to take this opportunity.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Got the lectern.
I know a lot of rugs are made out of oil or oil base or oils in the process. Since with the drop in oil prices, are we seeing a drop in oil prices?
Oil, glycerin, New Zealand wool. I wish there was a decrease in prices for air rugs. Unfortunately, there's an increase every year. And the wait time for the oversized rug seems to just get longer and longer. I've even had someone wait a year for an area rug. There is not a decrease in area rugs due to the decrease in oil prices. I actually, when I was traveling recently, found miraculously that gas was $7 a gallon in Jamaica. So it's not all over the world. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
I like to do a lot of online ordering, shopping, anything to make my day more efficient and effective. I order my subs online at Publix before I get there, so they're there waiting for me in my deli meats. I even here at Panera will come at lunch and have my meal waiting for me right in that little cubby hole up there. So I try to utilize all these tools wherever possible. What was the last thing you bought online that you'd like to actually share? Or ordered online, and share your experience with online shopping in general. Julia.
Keep it clean.
Toastmaster. I would love to answer that question. I have become more of an online shopper. My daughters are definitely totally online shoppers, and I've learned so much from them. The last thing I bought was actually party supplies to plan my daughter's graduation party this May. She's going into the tiki theme. So I had a blast shopping for the best rates and the best prices. Oil did not play into a factor again. That was the last thing that I bought on there. My daughters, on the other hand, probably buy and shop every day. But it's their money, not my money. If they want to shop, they can shop. But that's the last thing I bought. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more, that's it.
One more, okay.
Ah.
As we begin spring, what is your favorite season? Jeff.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. What is my favorite season as we begin the spring?
Yeah.
Really,
Spring
all year round for me is favorite because I'm originally from Connecticut where we had the 4 seasons, and my parents are from South America and Ecuador, so for me I have this theory that the closer I get to the equator, the happier I am. I get to play soccer all year round, so for me, when it's sunny. And so that for me in Florida is all year round, so that for me is my favorite seasons.
Just trying to figure out why I would want to wait for an area rock for 4 or 5 months. I just can't figure out. Go to Sam's and buy 'em. But I am not educated, so I have no class. Just walk into Sam's and it looks good to me. I want this air filter. Probably thinks that's nuts. We are now getting to the educational portion of the meeting. And I'm asking our general evaluator, Julia Kaufman, to come here and evaluate what we have done well.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. Honored guests. This is our part of the meeting, it's our educational part. This is where we really learn about our speaking habits, what we do well, areas for improvement, our overall stance, positioning, all of that goes into these evaluations. We also have informal evaluations that we ask for everybody's feedback. Because what one person liked about a speech, maybe someone else didn't. And you mesh it together and you use that to move forward in preparing and speaking. A lot of ahs in their hearing, I realize. We have 2 speeches and 2 evaluators. Our first evaluator is Mr. Gus Davies, who will be evaluating Mike Hughes' speech.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and guests. And Mike, this is a miraculous speech for me. I love guns. I've only shot half a dozen times. The topic you chose, the mental aspect of shooting, is very, very important. The reason why your speeches, you've been building up on each aspect that you spoke here, how the control and all of that. And today you really combine something that is relevant to the audience. You talked about the vision, control, and relax. I like the 3 points that you spoke about, and it was very relevant to this audience because we've heard you speak about that before. So today, to give us something that is very professional, something that is very personal, and something that is very practical, help the group to understand there's a mental aspect of shooting. One of the things I want to suggest that you work on, bring your toy gun. You know, nobody's going to run away from that. Bring your toy gun. And when you are speaking, you run away if you had a toy gun. You talk about a spot that you have to look at. It will help us to visualize that, a toy gun and how you pull the trigger. That's just one suggestion. I like the research you did. You realize he took aspects from parenting, you know, the spanking, the bang, and we can relate to that, right, parents? Or maybe you had that before. That was a good way to take something that is relevant and practical to each one. You also gave the research that Pavlo did with the dog, you know, ringing the bell and feeding the dog, you know, what that research was and how that is related to, you find a spot, you look at a spot and you pull the trigger and the sound. Well done. You had questions that you gave to us that could cause us to think about, you know, if you're going to be looking at something you are shooting, you know, what do you do? What about your stance? You know, you talked about that. It's relevant for people to understand that. Your quotes were right, your references were good, it is relevant to this audience, and keep building upon that. It's not only for the psychology paper you're doing at UCF, but it's good for each one of us, and I think we may take you on your offer. Mike was thinking about doing a class sometime, we talked about this a long time ago, for us. What is really helpful for that, you've been telling us these things. So if we go up to the range there, we have practical things. Great topic, greatly researched, well presented, and I love the challenge that we can be mentally prepared to shoot a gun. Thank you very much. Well done.
All right, our next evaluator is Mr. Paul Walsh. Come on in, Sam, welcome.
Don't owe you 20 bucks.
All right, don't pay up now or? All right, our second evaluator will be evaluating our rogue expert speech by Erika, Mr. Paul Walsh.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Erika. How to shop for area rugs. That was a great topic, and we all know you're the expert. I guess there was one question on the agenda that says the entertaining speaker. I think this was from the Speaking to Inform, so I assume the agenda is off there. But I really liked your opening. You talked about your qualifications, and you seemed really comfortable. But then you got into just some interesting types of rugs, which really captured our attention. And to me, it made me want to hear, you know, more about what you were talking about, because you said some things that I didn't know offhand that kind of drew me in a little bit. One area that I thought you could improve was just to, I think you